What's happening, everyone? How's everybody feeling today? How about you? I'm doing great. Grateful, actually. I'm back on the practice field today, and I don't take that for granted. No one saw this coming. Not the fans, not the analysts, and certainly not the Cleveland Browns coaching staff. For weeks, Shedeur Sanders had been quietly grinding through training camp. Limited reps, lingering arm soreness, and a saturated quarterback room had him buried on the depth chart. Most figured he'd fade into obscurity, just another name scrapping for relevance behind established NFL veterans like Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. But then, it happened. One throw, one moment. And suddenly the entire field turned toward Shedeur. Tony Grossi, a seasoned Browns reporter known for his candid and often unforgiving takes, stepped in front of the cameras and gave Sanders a level of praise rarely afforded to rookies. He called it the play of the day. And not out of charity. This was in a critical 3rd and 17 scenario. Tight coverage, high stakes, and Shedeur delivered a dart. The question now, was this a mere flash or the ignition point of something far greater? And just when you thought that was the end of it, one of Shedeur's former Colorado teammates made a move that could alter his professional future entirely. This isn't just a practice clip. This might be the beginning of a stunning takeover. Welcome back, folks. Tony G here with your Cleveland Browns training camp report. Day 10 is presented by Maloney and Noatin. It was the final day of open practices for the fans, and they were treated to a show. Shedeur Sanders, after sitting out a day with arm discomfort, returned and gifted them the moment of camp. The Browns were running a simulated field goal drill. The vibe was casual. Day 10 was supposed to be just another rinse and repeat session. Fans filtered in. Reporters gathered. Players went through the motions. Reps were distributed like routine check marks. But everything changed the second Shedeur stepped back onto the turf. He'd missed the previous day with what was described as minor soreness. Nothing alarming, but enough to spark murmurs. In a quarterback room brimming with veterans and eager prospects, a single absence can mean a missed opportunity. So when Shedeur returned, expectations were modest. What followed, though, shocked everyone. He wasn't just composed, he was dialed in. Commanding, focused, surgical. He navigated the pocket, scanned the defense, and fired with a conviction. Whispers started on the sidelines. Heads began turning toward jersey number 2. And then, confirmation. Tony Grossi, the same no-nonsense reporter who rarely hands out praise, named Sanders throwed the play of the day. 3rd and 17. A field goal drill simulating game pressure. A collapsing pocket. Receivers locked down, and Shedeur Sanders, standing firm under fire, threads a laser between defenders to tight end Luke Floria, who was blanketed in coverage. It was the kind of throw that made you blink twice. The crowd responded instantly. Coaches exchanged glances. And Grossi, rarely prone to hype, nodded with conviction. That was the moment. Was I hearing my dad's voice in my head? Absolutely, Sanders later said. It's always boon of blood. That's his motto, his mentality. It stays with me, but at the end of the day, I just want to be productive. I want to give my best. That's my focus, always. But this wasn't about nostalgia. It was about execution. For Shedeur, this wasn't just a highlight. It was proof of potential. A glimpse of what he could truly become if given the opportunity. Efficiency. 7 completions on 9 throws. Poise? Undeniable. Confidence? Rapidly rising. Still, that moment meant more than just a practice reel clip. It might have rewritten his trajectory. Make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders is navigating a crowded and competitive quarterback room. Joe Flacco, the Super Bowl MVP turned seasoned journeyman, took the bulk of the snaps, going 9 for 12. Kenny Pickett, slowly working his way back from a hamstring injury, is re-entering the fold. And Dillon Gabriel, while limited, remains a strong developmental candidate, drawing continued interest from the coaching staff. So where does that leave Shedeur? Somewhere between overlooked and undeniable. Hovering just beneath the radar, but rising. "Look, I see it from my own lens," Shedeur said. "I don't want him showing up just yet. Not until I've earned the moment I've been chasing." He's not looking for a pat on the back after a few clean reps. He doesn't want the cameras catching his father cheering from the sideline like a proud dad just yet. "You can't be proud of me right now," he insists. "I've still got mountains to climb." And maybe that's what sets Shedeur apart. He doesn't want distractions, not from the media, not from outside noise, not even from his own blood. Because he knows one misstep, one clip taken out of context, and the narrative spins out of control. So instead he dials in, shuts it out, and puts his head down. Despite limited reps, his efficiency roared through the noise. 7 of 9 completions, including the most talked about throw of the entire day. That's not just solid production. That's composure under pressure. That's clutch execution. 2 qualities that can't be taught, and even harder to overlook. And with Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel nursing injuries, a new opportunity is quietly taking shape. A window is opening. And if Shedeur keeps flashing like this, the coaching staff may have no choice but to take a second, longer look. Because training camp isn't about who throws the most balls. It's about who seizes the moment. And Shedeur Sanders, he just claimed his first. But this saga isn't just about a quarterback competition. There's a deeper fire burning in Shedeur's chest. A fire stoked by skepticism, by scrutiny, and by the weight of a famous last name. Respect in the NFL isn't gifted, it's earned. One snap, one decision, one breakthrough at a time. And for Sanders, time isn't a luxury. He doesn't have years to prove it. He has moments. He has now. And still, the critics linger. He's not an NFL quarterback. Not yet. They're forcing him onto the field because Pickett's hurt. He's getting first-team reps for reasons that have nothing to do with talent. That's the narrative some continue to push. They say he lacks accuracy outside of 7-on-7s. That in real pressure drills he falters. They claim the Browns are forcing a square peg into a round hole. They call it a PR stunt, a vanity project, a favor to a famous father. But then day 10 happened, and one throw changed everything. That 3rd and 17 completion wasn't just a highlight, it was a counterpunch. A defiant answer to every whispered doubt. A reminder, he's not here to play a part in someone else's storyline. He's here to write his own. While Shedeur was rewriting his narrative in Cleveland, one of his old protectors was quietly making bold moves of his own on a different continent. Remember Justin Mayers? 6'4", 320 pounds of unfiltered tenacity. Shedeur's former teammate and personal bodyguard in the trenches at Colorado. He just signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the CFL. Some might see it as a step backward. But look closer, and it tells a different story. Mayers had his shot in the NFL. He showed out during Denver Broncos rookie minicamp. Solid resume. All conference honors. Over 480 offensive snaps. Just 2 sacks allowed in his final collegiate season. The skill was there. The mindset was there. But the NFL is a grinder, especially for linemen clawing to the top of loaded depth charts. So he pivoted. Not backwards, just differently. In Canada, he won't be buried behind veterans. He'll get real reps. Real film. A real chance to dominate. And if he does, a return to the NFL becomes not only plausible, but probable. Just like Shedeur, Justin Mayers is betting on himself. Moments like these rarely feel historic, until they are. That 3rd and 17 throw might look like a blip on the camp highlight reel, But in a league where every snap is judged, every rep recorded, it could be the spark that flips the perception. He's no longer just Dion's son. He's no longer just the rookie with potential. He's the guy who showed up, showed out, and forced the media to talk. And that matters. Because coaches don't always say it out loud, but standout plays shift depth charts. They earn extra reps. They draw eyes in meetings. And when injuries hit or performances dip, it's the player who owns the moment that rises. Meanwhile, north of the border, Meyers is proving that greatness doesn't have to fit inside the NFL's walls. While others scramble for practice squad scraps, he's playing real football, putting real reps on film, building real value. It's a longer road, but often it's the one that lasts. The truth? Both Shedeur and Meyers are chasing the same thing from different directions. Respect. One's throwing lasers in Cleveland, the other's anchoring lines in Winnipeg. But both are rewriting the stories that were pre-written for them. Every NFL season births breakout stars. But the ones we remember, the ones who burn their names into our memory, are the underdogs. The ones who weren't supposed to matter. Cleveland isn't ready for the seismic shift unfolding right now. The bombshell that just detonated could completely redefine this franchise. And no, this isn't overhyped clickbait. One high-priced superstar may be counting down his final days in the dog pound, while an overlooked underdog is suddenly gaining serious traction, right where no one expected. And that's not all. There's a jaw-dropping 3-team trade scenario circulating that could shake 3 entire organizations to their core. This is insider-level, high-stakes strategy. So strap in, dog pound. We're diving straight into the storm. For months, Deshaun Watson's name has been synonymous with uncertainty and frustration on the shores of Lake Erie. But today, that cloud of ambiguity erupted into a full-blown crisis. According to veteran insider Mary Kay Cabot, Watson has already played his last snap in a Browns uniform. That's right. Regardless of whether his Achilles heals, she says the chapter is closed. And if you follow Cleveland's beat, you know this prediction isn't coming out of thin air. Owner Jimmy Haslam already views that blockbuster trade and fully guaranteed $230 million deal as a catastrophic misfire. 3 first-round picks and a mountain of money for a quarterback who's played just 19 games in 3 seasons without ever flashing that vintage Houston dominance. But the issue runs deeper than injury alone. If Watson remains sidelined, Cleveland can activate the insurance clause and reclaim vital cap space. But if doctors clear him and he claims he's ready, everything changes. That's where the politics begin. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk laid it out. If Watson is medically cleared and the Browns refuse to activate him, he can file a grievance. He could argue that he's fit to play, and the franchise is deliberately benching him. That would force Cleveland's hand. Either roster him, trade him, or cut him outright and swallow the most expensive pill in franchise history. Just imagine the scene. Kevin Stefanski trying to construct a cohesive offense around Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and 2 hungry rookies, all while Deshaun Watson reappears at camp with a vengeance. Do you stick with the process, or roll the dice on a quarterback who's never delivered on his sky-high expectations in Cleveland? The fan base has already erupted. Half the dog pound has declared the Watson era dead, and that his contract is an immovable anchor. The other half still believes he could rise from the ashes and silence the critics once and for all. Either way, the locker room is feeling the weight. Deontay Johnson's recent comment about Pickett wasn't casual. He publicly dubbed Kenny the front runner and emphasized the current practice hierarchy. Pickett with the ones, Flacco behind him. That says a lot about the coaching staff's mindset. They're prepping for a new QB era. Still, even if Pickett or Flacco leads the huddle, Watson's shadow looms. That monstrous contract, the household name, warming the bench, fuel for media frenzy, and a locker room nearing its limit. The cruel irony? If Watson proves he's healthy, Cleveland loses the insurance cash, wrecks its salary cap, and still has to decide: play him, trade him, or release him. It's a lose-lose labyrinth. How did we get here? A team that once looked primed to ascend is now trapped in a contractual soap opera with no guarantees. Meanwhile, Pickett keeps grinding, Flacco stays composed, Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel immerse themselves in the playbook, and Watson silently watches, perhaps ready to make one final power move. And if you thought that was today's biggest headline, brace yourself. A wild 3-team trade proposal just hit the internet, and it's got real traction. Bleacher Report's Brent Sobolewski proposed a hypothetical blockbuster featuring Jalen Ramsey, one of the decade's elite cornerbacks. And surprisingly, it actually makes sense. Here's the structure. Cleveland sends Greg Newsome II to the Bears. The Browns receive left tackle Braxton Jones from Chicago. Cleveland isn't ready for this. Not even close. The seismic shock that just erupted could tilt the entire franchise on its axis. And no, this isn't exaggeration. One megastar on a monster deal might be staring down his final days in orange and brown, while a dark horse nobody took seriously is suddenly charging up the depth chart from the shadows. And just wait, there's more. A wild 3-team trade proposal is circulating behind the scenes. The kind of deal that could upend 3 front offices overnight. Thank you guys, see you next video.